Hey everybody, I'm back with part 2 of the 12th reading of the Book of Wisdom. I don't know, my iPhone just did something really weird just now. It started listening and pulling up stuff as I was talking, and it's not what I wanted it to do, but it has been doing that. So this is part 2 of the video. My apologies. Previously, I was talking about the celestial rulership and the 7 celestial energies, right? So now we're going to get into the moon, and we're going to get into the God-man made flesh. So the last video, I talked about the celestial rulership of the different planets. We covered Saturn, the moon, Mercury, the sun, Jupiter, Mars, and Venus, right? And so now we're going to discuss the moon and the different cycles of the different phases. A moon is a mooneth. A month is a mooneth. That's what month stands for. The month takes 14 days, or the moon takes 14 days to wax to a full moon. The moon takes 14 days to wane to a new moon. The moon governs all liquids within us and on the face of this earth dome, okay, on this celestial plane that we're in. The menstruation cycle for a woman is governed by the moon. It takes 14 days for the egg to become mature in the ovaries. If the egg is fertilized at 270 days later, a child will be born. If not, 14 days later, the egg will bleed. It'll be discharged from the body. The moon takes 30 days to travel around the zodiacal wheel. And this is why we use the term month, because it is the moon or moon, M-O-N, or moon. A month is a cycle of the moon cycling around all 12 zodiac signs. And as you saw when I was reading about the sign of Aries, the house of Aries, this is the zodiacal wheel, for example. And it says, like I said, it takes 30 days to travel around the zodiac wheel. This is why we use the term month, because it is the moon or month. A month is a cycle of the moon cycling around the 12 zodiac signs. The moon has an effect on our psychology, and this is why we use the term lunatic. It has been a well-known fact for decades now that on the full moon, the crime rate increases due to the psychological effects it has on our minds, enhancing the state of mind we already possess. Using the moon to your advantage, okay? When the moon is in the phase of being new, you want to start new projects, plant seeds, or start new chapters in your life, as the moon will be growing along with you. Okay. Money only exists in the mind. Mind is the moon. And in your mind, you have a specific mood, which is moon. The moon does not reflect the sunlight. It emits its own source of light. Gazing at the full moon will help you gain physical abilities. Bet you they didn't teach you that in school. I know they didn't teach me that. The moon is your mind, and a full moon is when it's the most powerful. You can use full moons to your advantage. For example, by casting spells as they are more powerful when it is a full moon, or start something new in your life. You could also have a deep visualization meditation of your own future. New moons symbolize new beginnings, fresh starts, new mindsets, and new goals, okay? And it just shows a picture of the different cycles of the moon here. New moon, a waxing crescent, first quarter, waxing gibbous, full moon, a waning gibbous, a third quarter, and a waning crescent. And then it has the different cycles of the moon meanings. It says the new moon is for new beginnings. It's the time for a clean slate, start to gather or grow or thoughts and plant. A waxing crescent moon is set intentions. Your soul hopes and desires into this world, okay? The first quarter moon is to take action. When you face obstacles, do not, this is really small. I can't see that. It's time to push forward. Okay, so it says, do not be discouraged. It's time to push forward. Okay, so the waxing gibbous moon is refine and hone in The full moon is the harvest or endeavors. Okay. The waning gibbous moon is the introspect. Okay, which would show the grateful or the gratitude, that time period. The third quarter moon is to release and let go of the habits that bind you, that do not serve you. Okay, and then the warming, or yes, it's the warming crescent moon, I guess. It's the waning crescent moon. It's meaning surrender. And then the new moon, again, is the new beginnings. It's time to clean slate and so forth. So the cycle starts all over again. I'm going to show you these pictures. So here's the moon phases here. Here's the moon phases here. And also here. And I know it's very small on camera. I just wanted you to see it. Not that you're going to be able to read it, but I wanted you to see that. So let's get into the man is God made flesh. Aries rules the upper head, the crown. The ram horns are the brain, the cerebrum, the upper brain. The room are Aries, the lamb of God, and has pictures here, and I'm going to show you that. Taurus rules the lower brain, which is the cerebellum or the bull, which is the higher and lower brain, the whole body, and make the ramble meaning walk. The ram and the bull make you ram bull. Okay, Gemini rules the two arms and hands and lungs. Okay, Gemini is a sign of twins. The element associated with the sign is air. The twins in the body are hands, lungs, and arms. Our hands and arms move through the air and our lungs breathe in and out. Capricorn rules the knees, which is the kneecap or Capricorn. Sagittarius rules the hips. Sagittarius, the horse, which rules the hips. Hippo means horse, and this is why we say hips. Pisces is the two fish. The two fish are the 2 feet. The feet are what we use to swim through water. The end times in the Bible is referring to the end of Pisces moving into Aquarius, okay, which is where we are in the signage right now, I believe. We're going into the age of Aquarius, so I think we might already be in it. Luke 22:8. Jesus sent Peter and John saying, go and prepare for us to eat for the Passover. Luke 22:10. He answered, when you enter into the city, a man carrying a jug of water will meet you, or a pitcher of water. Follow him to the house he enters. In those times, a man would never be carrying water. That was a woman's job, while the man would be the builder for the example. This is how we know it's talking about the sign of Aquarius. And I'm going to show you some pictures or depictions, all right? And this is how the God-man is made flesh. So you can see the picture of the rams, the portions of the brain here and here. And it gives you the symbols. It gives you the different houses and what their rulerships are. So the age of Aquarius, coming out of Pisces and into the age of Aquarius, basically just to me means knowledge. The knowledge is increasing. Our understanding is increasing. How we know this is by all the information that's being shared. Now, true enough, like Chief was saying, you got to be very selective about who you follow and who you listen to. My whole thing for me is I'm reading these things to you to share the information. Some of you will probably never even pick up a book, and much less something like this, unless it piques your curiosity. So I'm doing the readings for you and giving you a little bit of interpretation to go along the way. But again, you have to be diligent in your journey. Everybody's on this journey. I can't make that journey for you. Like I can't make the journey for my children. And I don't like to say the word children, but I don't like to say the word kids. Children, yes. But I can't make that journey for them. That's something that they have to do for themselves. You know, when we come into these vessels, into these avatar bodies, we're a clean slate. We are conditioned and programmed and grafted and nurtured into this perversion. As Chief says, and he's right, we are. We're putting on filters and we have to take those filters off. And by me reading to you and explaining some of this immaterial to you, hopefully that will pique your curiosity and take the blinders off of your mind, right? Or off your eyes. Let me put it that way. Because we all have these filters that we have on us. You know, you have a filter at work. You have a filter when you deal with your family. You have a filter when you deal with business, when you deal with friends, when you deal with your significant other, when you deal with your children, your coworker. Everybody has filters they put on, you know, and if they say they don't, they're lying. or they're lying to themselves, because they do. So let's do this part. Let's do astrology. What do the 12 constellations do? So we talked about the God-man made flesh previously when I read from the zodiac, the relation of mineral salts to the body. And I read Aries, which is my sign, right? And in the sacred secretion, let's get into this part where I left off on process 7. We're going to talk about the vagus crossing and the cerebellum. Okay, it says 3 years or vertebrae after his or the seed's baptism, which is the C4 for Christ Jesus, which is crucified. Jesus is crucified at 33. I know I've talked about this previously, right? And I'm going to just rehash this really quick because I really feel like we really need to understand what these bodies are, right? We animate these bodies, true enough, but we need to understand that not only is the body is intelligently designed, it's a complex piece of equipment, and the computer is a brain, but we need to understand how these things correlate and how they work together, right? So, again, when we talk about the God-man made flesh, there are certain things within our bodies that I've always covered this before, but I feel like it's important for us to talk about the Christ oil again, right? The thalamus, the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, how that all works in conjunction, the nervous system, how it works, and the cerebral spinal fluid, the CSF, okay, the Christ oil. Again, 33 vertebra in our spine represents Jesus's 33, okay? 33 vertebrae is the 33 years of Christ, and the Christ oil has to go up the vertebra, okay? It takes 15 minutes per each vertebra, and I believe it recycles 6 times 4 is 24 hours a day, right? So it recycles 6 times every 4 hours, I think, if I have that correct. I'm going by memory now. And it says, Jesus dying at 33 also symbolizes turning matter into spirit when moving the oil past the 33 vertebra that sits at the base or root chakra, the sacral chakra. And we have to learn how to manipulate this energy and balance our energy centers. And this process is going to take place regardless. But the thing, what we're not taught, alcohol plays a factor. EMF plays electromagnetic frequencies, like the internet over here plays a factor. Dirty electricity spraying in the skies, most definitely your mindset, the garbage, because this is a receiver. Your eyes are receivers. So what you're watching what you're watching, porn, that kind of stuff, nudity on TV, the sexual overtones with, and I am not bashing any type of gay marriages or gay relationships or what have you. To each his own. But I feel like they're pushing this agenda so much. It's a distraction and it's a perversion, and it's tainting our young children's minds. And I don't care if you agree or you disagree with me. I really don't give two shits. I mean, that's what's really happening. So everything that we're taking in plays a factor. Diet, exercise, your mental state, your environment, what do you consume, alcohol, cigarettes, what have you. It all plays a factor with this cerebral spinal fluid, okay? Again, 33. The light of the body is the eye. Therefore, if thine eye be single, the whole body will be full of light. That's the purpose. That's the purpose. Jacob's ladder is your spinal column, right? And I just want to make that clear. I know we've covered it before, but maybe there's somebody that hasn't seen the other videos. So the 33 vertebra is the mandala near the entrance of the cerebellum, where the double cross or crucifixion or transmutation is situated. The double cross is formed by the ida and the pignale, the left and right autonomic nervous system. That's why we practice the breath work. And the left and right vagus nerves, or the breath channels, the C and X. The crucifixion can actually be likened to an invigoration of power or potential. To crucify means to add or to increase 1,000-fold. When electric wires are crossed, they set on fire are all inflammable substances near them. When the Christ seed crossed the nerve at the Golgotha, which is the place of the skull, Okay. The veil of the temple fell and the generative cells of the body were quickened or regenerated. Okay. And that's in this book over here. And they're taking excerpts from that book. But what does this mystical description really mean? Let's take a look. At the double cross or the mandala or the seed is infused with air, nitrogen, and oxygen from the vagus nerve, which brightens and charges its light in the same way that wines, Ross fires, and minerals or cell salts that protect the seed on its ascension are removed at the double cross. Okay. The oil in the seed, when born, is covered by a crust of mineral salts, which, when baptized in Jordan by John, is loosened the order that the shell may fall apart when the seed goes over the cross, in order that the precious material may ascend into the pineal gland. Again, this is an alchemical process that takes place in us. Okay. And if you reading the text for the way it is and reading it verbatim, you never will have a deeper understanding of what it's actually talking about, which is talking about the alchemical process in our bodies. Okay. And it says, after its crucifixion, the seed constituents into the cerebellum, which is symbolized by Jesus's tomb. And here's a picture. Again, this is a process that takes every single human being. It's our birthright. This is how we've come into this existence, right? We've talked about the 7 celestial rings that we have to go through. So we're in Saturn or Satan or in a holographic reality, and we're wiped clean when we come into these avatar bodies, right? We are. We are not taught these things. At birth, we should be taught these things. At very young age, all the children should be taught these things that will help us to enlighten us, but it's not. We're put in a system or a perversion, and we're going into these institutions and giving our lives away. The number one currency on this planet is human energy. That's it. This currency that we work every day for, that I work for, and you guys work for, if you're still working, it's fake fiat. It's not backed by the gold standard. Nixon took us off of that, I think, what? Somebody correct me, 1970, I think, when he took us off the gold standard. So, I mean, it's all fictitious and it's all for a purpose, right? They're doing this intentionally. So it says the cerebellum is the intuitive brain, which controls the involuntary functions of the body, such as breathing, circulation, sleeping, digestion, and swallowing. The anatomic functions are basically all the functions that we don't really have to think about performing. The cerebellum deals with the synergistic activity and makes everything work in harmony with everything else. It is the coordinated activity of the cerebellum that allows us to perform whatever functions we choose. Excuse me. All the activity of the body, the muscle tension, the joint relaxation, hearing, the vision, relationship of every part of the body in time and space sends impulses to the cerebellum. The cerebellum is like the electrical loom. And I mean, I've said this many times before, and you guys know this. We are electrical appliances. When you stop breathing and you drop and you have a heart attack, or you stop breathing, you have a stroke, whatever, first thing they're going to do is check your pulse. And then they're going to start chest compressions. And then they may do breathing in to pump start your heart to get that energy flowing back through your heart and through your body, right? I'm just saying. And if not, they're going to pull out an AED and they're going to charge it and they're going to shock you, right? Clear the body, and they're going to shock you to get the electric pulse back into you, right? We are electrical appliances. Why is that not taught? Who knows? Who knows? Well, we know why it's not taught. We know. We really do. All right, so it says electrical impulses give the cerebellum a perfect representation of the body's position in time and space. The powerful excerpt will tell us everything we need to know about the cerebellum. The cerebellum clearly demonstrates the proper functioning of the intellect as it begins to move into Christ, or the superconsciousness. As we become aware of the underlying activity that coordinates, balances, and harmonizes every action in creation, the cerebellum begins to receive this picture. Then we have available to us the information that represents the total body of creation, and we can become co-creators with the primary, creator. And right then and there when I'm talking, I had this movie pop into my head, Lucy. Remember when she was downloading and connecting to the All Father as in one, when she was connecting to the computers, and she was telling her she remembers when her mom was nursing her and she could taste the breast milk, and she could remember her, as she was growing up, and she could remember being in her mother's womb. She was connecting to the prime creator, the All Father, the being in the void, that which we name God. She was connecting with that. And so when I'm reading this passage, I thought about the movie Lucy. If you haven't seen it, it's a good movie. You need to go check it out again. The cerebellum is the part of the brain that receives messages from the nervous system. It tells us what we think or feel about certain things. Eckhart Tolle explains this in The Absence of Awareness. Virtually of all thoughts happen to you instead of for you, meaning that the autonomous system is running riot and keeping you imprisoned to discordant thought patterns. Thus, you are not considered a master of yourself. When we give more power to the forebrain, or rational part of our consciousness, we contribute to the atrophy and the redundancy of the all-powerful cerebellum. Consequences of the degeneration of the cerebellum. This is the consequences of the degenerate cerebellum, and which is 80% of the population. I'm not even going to say 90% of the population, because Chief gave an analogy today about that. You've got 80%, and you've got the 20% that know what's going on, is trying to wake the other 80% up. And out of the 20%, you may have 17%, and out of that, you may have 10%. The 10% of the 20 are the ones that are trying to wake up. And then the other 10%, or the other 5% of the 20, I'm being generous here with my numbers, are the ones at the very top, the elites, that don't want us, the other 10%, waking the other 80% up, right? Does that make sense? So it says, this is the consequences of it. Unconsciousness during the transition between sleep and wake, okay? No recollection of astral experiences and difficulty remembering your dreams, okay? Loss of reception between the body's higher and lower centers, preventing the clarity of messages received from the higher self. I recommend reading The Cell of Life, Awakening and Regenerating for more empowering information on the cerebellum. I'm going to get that book. I don't have that one. I'm going to put that in my Amazon cart. Yeah, I said that, Mike. For more empowering information on the cerebellum. To recap, after the seed is crucified, it remains in the cerebellum, which is the tomb, okay? And until it is resurrected or diffused through the cerebellum linga. Chapter summary: after its baptism by the Thurinix, the seed arrives at the double cross of the Ida and the Pignali and the vagus nerve, where it is crucified, and it increases its power 1,000%, 1,000-fold, and subsequently travels up to the tomb. Okay, so we read that part 7. We read the process of the vagus crossing and the cerebellum. We talked about what it does. And then we talked about the consequences of the degenerative part of the cerebellum. And again, no recollection of your astral experiences and difficulty remembering dreams, right? I'm having that part too. I have a book by my bed, and I try to write down the things that I've dreamed about and try to keep a dream journal. And for the last couple of days, I've just been in stasis. Like, I don't recall anything. And I'm being honest with you on camera. I didn't used to have that problem. And then it also says unconsciousness during the transition between sleep and awake cycle. Okay, so that's the part 7 of the process. And then here, where I left off at, the God-man made flesh. If the allegories of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, as well as Paul's epistles and Acts of the Apostles, teach anything, they teach the mastery and transmutation of the human body by anyone who obeys the physiological guide, the whole book, the Holy Bible. Okay, basic instructions before leaving Earth. But let the reader observe that each of the 66 books, as well as an almost countless number of ancient books of all races and languages, teach the same mathematical and physiological facts. Man has turned the mighty power he possesses to every object and principle of force in the universe except himself. And that's true. The greatest miracle of all, when man focuses his divine thinking lens upon himself, which means to go inwardly, he will realize that he is the epitome of unlimited cosmic energy. Then the heavens will roll together as a scroll and reveal the real man as the Lamb of God that taketh away the sins of the world. A child brought to its mother a piece of ice and asked, "What is this?" The mother answered, "It is ice." Again, the child asked, "What is there in ice? What is there in ice?" The mother answered, "There is water in the ice." The child desired to find the water in the ice, and it procured a hammer, pounded the piece of ice into little bits, and the warm air soon changed all the ice to water. The child was grievously disappointed, for the ice that the child supposed contained water had disappeared. And the child said, "Where is the ice that contained the water?" And so it came to pass that the mother was compelled by the child's persistent question to say, "Ice is all water. There is no such thing as ice." Which we call ice is crystallized or frozen water. The child understood. A student brought to his teacher some water and asked, "What is water? What does it contain?" The teacher answered, "Water contains oxygen and hydrogen," and then explained how the two gases might be separated and set free by heat, which is a transmutation process, alchemical process. The student boiled the water until all the molecules of oxygen and hydrogen had been set free, but he was surprised to find that all the water had disappeared. Then the student asked the teacher, "Where is the water that held the gases and have escaped?" Then was the teacher compelled by the student's persistent questions to answer, "Water itself is the product of oxygen and hydrogen. Water does not contain anything other than these gases. In reality, there is no such substances or fluid as water. That which we name water is a rare rate of motion set in operation by the union of 2 parts of hydrogen with 1 part oxygen, and of course, the phenomena disappears when the union of gases is broken." The student understood. A devout scientist presented himself before God and said, "Lord, what are these gases men call oxygen and hydrogen?" The good Lord answered and said, "They are molecules in the blood and body of the universe." Then he spake to the scientist, "Lord, wilt thou tell me of the kind of molecules that compose thy blood and thy body?" The Lord replied, "These same molecule gases and principles compose my blood and body, for I am the universe and are of the same." Once again, the scientist said, "My Lord, may I ask then, what is a spirit and what is matter?" And the Lord then answered, "As ice and water are one, and the gases and water are one, so is spirit and matter one. The different phases and manifestation cognized by man in the molecules of my body, that is, the universe, are caused by the word. Thus they are, my thoughts, clothed with form." Now, the scientist felt bold, being redeemed from fear, and asked, "Is my blood then identical with thy blood in composition and divine essence?" And the Lord said, "Yea, thou art one with the Father." I'm going to say that one more time. And the Lord said, "Yea, thou art one with the Father." For those of you who say it's blasphemous, okay, not getting in my feelings, no ego here. For those of you who say it's blasphemous to compare yourself to a God, you do not understand what this is. You do not have the understanding that you should have. And so in this phrase, he says, "Yea, thou art one with the Father." The scientist now understood and said, "Now my eyes are open, and I perceive that when I eat, I partake of thy body. When I drink of thy blood. And when I breathe thy spirit." So-called matter is pure intelligence and nothing else, because there is anything else. There is not anything else. Pure intelligence cannot be progress or become better. There is nothing but intelligence. Omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscience must mean intelligence. Therefore, these terms are all included in the word. Let us adopt a short word that will express all that is above written words are intended to express, namely the word it in capital I and capital T. I stand for all, the eternal I. T stands for operation, manifestation, vibration, action, and motion. The I in motion is the T, or crossification the T cross. We say it rains, it is cold, it is right. What do we mean by it? Who knows? Some say the weather, others natural phenomena. Very well then, what do you mean by the weather or natural phenomena? Why just it, of course. It does not progress. It does not need to. It forever manifests, operates, differentiates, and presents different aspects of viewpoints of itself. But these different phases are neither good, better, nor best, neither bad nor worse, simply different shades and colorations of the one and the only intelligence. So this is the problem that people have. This is why we have such racism. We are truly all one big family, one consciousness, variations of the one, having these experiences in these bodies, but yet we go back to the source. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed. I'm here to tell you. For us, when we come into these bodies, yeah, I identify as being a Thoughtness one because my ancestors, ancients, knew this information. This information was readily taught and readily available. Now, if you speak these words that I'm reading to you on camera, most people will look at you like you got 12 eyes in your forehead. Just saying. So it says, every so-called thing, whether it be animal, vegetable, or mineral, molecule or atom, ion or electron, is the result of the one intelligence expressing itself in different rates of motion. Then what is spirit? Spirit means breath of life, breath or life. Spirit, that which is breathed into man, must be intelligence, or man would be not intelligent. Non-intelligent substance, which is, of course, unthinkable, would not breathe into anything or make it intelligent if it did. Therefore, we see that spirit, intelligence, and matter are one and the same, as say in the different rates of motion. So-called molecules, atoms, electrons know what to do. They know where and how to cohere, to unite, to operate, to form a leaf or a flower. They know how to separate and disintegrate that same leaf or flower. These particles of omnipresent life build planets, suns, and systems. They hurl the comet on its way across the measureless deserts of stardust and emboss its burning path. From the materialistic and individual concepts of life and its operations, it is pitiable and pathetic to view the wrecks along the shores of science. It is only when we view these apparently sad failures from the firm foothold of unity of being and operation of wisdom that we clearly see in these frictions and warring elements and temporary defeats and victories, the chemical operation of eternal spirit operating with its own substance, its very own self. It is only through the fires of transmutation that we are enabled to see that all life is one eternal life and therefore cannot be taken or injured or destroyed. The fitful, varying, changing beliefs of men in this transition stage from the sleep and dreams of materialism to the realization of the oneness of spirit show forth in a babble of words and theories, a few of which I shall briefly consider, beginning with the yet popular belief in evolution. And I'm going to stop it there because he goes into and he breaks this down and he explains. This is a magnificent read. I don't want to get too far ahead of what I wanted to cover. And so I'm going to stop it right there. So we read the God-Man made flesh. We read part of the sacred secretion. We talked about man is God made flesh. We also talked about astrology. Well, we're getting ready to talk about astrology. We talked about the celestial rulerships, the moon, in the previous video, the 7 celestial energies, right? And so we are going to get into Aries and Taurus. I'm going to skip ahead. I was going to talk about astrology, but I think, what do the constellations do? The zodiac imparts distinctive and varied characteristics to every living being, shaping our appearance, behavior, thoughts, and perceptions. The diversity arises from the perpetual movement of the constellation in the sky. Each one of us occupies a specific time and place in the celestial bodies, and our destinies are influenced by the planetary positions at the moment of our birth. These celestial entities, akin to gods, play a role in shaping our bodies, souls, and individual traits. The unique forms of every living entity result from the distinct alignment of the zodiac and planetary influences. No two individuals are entirely alike, as each occupies a unique position in the sky, because we are stars, our higher selves. When we are incarnated, the constant rotation of the zodiacal gods around the magnetic North Pole creates an ever-changing array of energy, shifting every millisecond and hour, contributing to the individuality of each living being. The stars and celestial bodies create every living form on the face of this planetary or Earth dome realm. Each planet, tree, animal, fish, creature gains its qualities and traits from the celestial powers in the sky, which is a projector, okay? Because we know we're in a holographic reality. Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn are the cardinal signs. Card in Latin means hinge and hinges upon doors. When the sun reaches these cardinal signs, it opens the door for the season. And we talk about the two equinox and how it affects us biblically. 21st March, the days grow longer and the nights shorter. 21st September, the days grow smaller and the nights become longer. In the Bible, these are known as the two olive trees, the two candlesticks, the two witnesses, and the two covenants. The covenant of works. 21st March, because the farmer has to work in the field to harvest the crops, which is what my ancient families did, according to my genealogy. The convent of grace rest. The sun is beginning us into the summer, and the farmers can rest from the labor. The entire earth is in complete equinox at these two moments. This is the reason why we have four gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. This is also why we have the directions of winds on the earth. Okay. Man is a star bound to a body until the end. He is freed through his strife. Only by struggle and toiling thou utmost shall the star within the bloom out in the new life. He who knows the commencement of all things frees his star from the realm of night. And that's Thoth. The emerald tabs of Thoth, or thought, state that we are a star in the physical body. We are fallen angles of light that incarnate into the black hole of Saturn. We incarnated into this avatar or hue of a man, 666 carbon suit, and we have the mark of the beast. Okay, so I'm going to stop it right there because I have gone at time. I've read over that, and so when I come back, we're going to discuss again the zodiacal self thoughts. Really quick on this Aries and Taurus. Here's the zodiacal house here, the wheel. Here's the mineral salts from the book that I read earlier. It's got a snippet from that. It says April 1st marks the authentic New Year day when the sun transitions into the zodiacal sign of Aries. This natural occurrence aligns with the rejuvenation of nature, symbolizing the resurrection of life following the winter's dormancy. Aries associated with April signifies the commencement of new beginnings, just like the new moon signifies the new beginnings. Are you starting to see the signs now? Are you starting to correlate what's going on here? However, the calendar and the dates have been manipulated by those in authority, disrupting our harmony with nature. April Fool's Day, originally the true New Year, earned its name because we were deceived into accepting an altered perception of the time. In essence, we are unwittingly played for fools by those who control the calendar. And I'm going to stop it right there. So y'all know when we run around here on January 1st, oh, Happy New Year. No, April 1st is actually the true New Year. So now you've learned something else with this reading, right? So anyway, I appreciate you guys joining me. I appreciate you, learning and listening, and while I'm reading and you are stepping in. This is the beginning of you stepping into your truth. I am getting ready to go outside, take my puppies out. I'm on ground. I'm going to come back in, do some breath work and some yoga and some meditation. I've got to finish a class. I'm going to do that as well. I'm going to try to get into a couple of chapters of that. And then when I come back again, we're going to pick up and we're going to still read from The Science of the Sacred Secretion and the Occult Anatomy of a Man, along with the next part, which will be chapter 13 or part 13 of the Book of Wisdom. So I hope you guys have a great afternoon. We are eternally bonded. Be the change you want to see all around this planet, because it is up to you and I to make that positive change. We must have balance, and we must begin to ascend. We do not have a choice at this point, people. We don't. All right. I'll talk to you guys soon.